So here's a fucking shocker. David Pakman and Matt Dillahunty are canoodling together on the same fucking show. So this is news to me. I did not know that they were buddies. But at the same time, I actually shouldn't be too surprised. David Pakman never struck me as a very religious type. And Matt Dillahunty has been palling around with Jewish supremacists in the past, namely Sam Harris, and to a lesser extent some other people as well. So it seems like everything Matt Dillahunty has said in that previous video that I responded to is total bullshit because you're palling around with Jewish supremacists. David Pakman is a straight up Jewish supremacist, and we just learned recently that he took dark money from a Jewish supremacist group. Um, but yeah, Matt Dillahunty has shown like I said, this is technically nothing new. Matt Dillahunty has, let's say, conspired with Jewish supremacists like Sam Harris, because there are a lot of these so-called bullshit atheist Jews, which honestly, just drop the Jew thing. Just drop the Jew thing already. Okay, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised, but I am surprised, and I'm going to respond to this. Now, in all fairness, I'm an atheist too, so I might actually end up agreeing with a lot of the stuff that these two stooges say. I'm just kind of morbidly curious as to what they're going to say. So I haven't seen this video yet, so let's just watch it together. And I'll be honest, like I'll approach this the same way I do anything else. I'm not going to attack these dumbasses, even though I just did, for the arguments that they're going to be making here. I will, however, point out Matt Dillahunty's hypocrisy. um, all the stuff that he was virtue signaling so much about how, pretending like he was pro-Palestinian. He was never pro-Palestinian. If you pal around with a Zionist, a Jewish supremacist like David Pakman, you're no friend of Palestine.
Wig is a theist from Missouri, pronouns are he, him, who says the Bible can be used as evidence to prove the Bible. Wig, you're on with Matt and David Pakman. How does that work to use the Bible to
You mean David A. Pakman?
prove the Bible?
Great question. Great question. I do appreciate y'all letting me on. Well, it's very simple. Which came first, science or the scientific method?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how would this conversation have gone if that Jewish supremacist caller from before that was saying that Jews are allowed to rape the goy. I wonder how David Pakman would have responded to that guy. I'm just curious. Like that would have been a very interesting video. Instead, you have him just talking to some theist, a Christian probably.
Well, science is the Greek word for knowledge. So in some contexts, science came first, but the scientific methods, which there are many of them, have been refined over a long time and are constantly being improved. So the basic ideas behind science existed before we had a method to sort them out.
Great. So you're saying that the scientific method was written down. Is that correct?
No, there is no the scientific method. There are scientific methods, and what they are repeatedly improved best practices for evaluating available evidence and data to reach a conclusion. Science is constantly evolving and changing and improving, as are its.
I'm not aware. I'm not aware of more than one scientific method. So I'm not really sure what Matt Dillahunty is talking about here. Like, I guess you could skip some steps. I'm trying to remember all the steps in the scientific method, but you start with, I guess, a hypothesis, or maybe you could say you start with a problem, and then then the next step would be a hypothesis, and then all the rest of the steps. I'm forgetting all the steps, but there's testing, and then the last step is theory, which is actually the conclusion. So I'm not really sure what the fuck he's talking about when he's talking about scientific methods. I'm only aware of one scientific method.
Methods.
Right, but how was that change being rendered? Like, is it not written down? Or, I guess what I'm saying is, what book cannot be used as evidence besides the Bible?
Oh, this isn't about whether or not a book can be evidence. No book is evidence. It's the data in books that are the things that we would use to evaluate. You know, it's no book is a testament unto itself to verify the reliability of its data, not a science book or a Bible.
So then, how can the Bible not be used as evidence to prove the data in there? You said that it's a circular argument, but you're saying that it's a circular argument, but I mean, there's really no way to not prove it without the book unless you're doing the scientific method yourself. You just can't say that the Bible can't be proven. Go ahead.
Wiggs.
Like, I do have to take a little bit of umbrage with what Matt said before, where like a book can't be evidence. Like when it comes to like history, especially, if a historian writes something, especially from ancient times, that oftentimes is cited as evidence unto itself. Maybe there would be an effort to corroborate it with some other things, sure. But a lot of times, you know, histories written by historians from ancient times are taken as more or less true, mostly because we don't have anything better to rely upon. But then again, you know, I mean, he's not completely wrong either. But let's just move on.
So first of all, I don't think I mentioned circular argument today at all, but congrats on recognizing that there is a circular argument fallacy. What I said was that science is a process that's constantly improving, and the methods are built. And no.
Okay, like just to revise what I said before, like if they're contextualizing this within just science alone, then okay, yeah, I'm willing to go with that. But like when it comes to things like history, yeah, sometimes a book actually is relied upon exclusively, I would say, as evidence of something, whether an event happened or not. That can happen.
Science book in any way confirms that what that science book says is true. It is the data and the evaluation of those data that confirm whether or not the information in that book is true. So not a biology book does not prove that the statements in the biology book are true, and the Bible doesn't prove that the statements in the Bible are true. That there has to be independent confirmation.
So that's kind of like putting the cart before the horse.
Why is Pakman on here at all? Like he's just sitting there like a big fat load. He's not saying shit.
So, and no,
Can
you
I
did
ask a
not say
question,
that.
Matt? Finally, Pakman's gonna chime in. Let's hear what Pakman has to say about religion and science and stuff like that. Because I actually never heard this guy talk about anything other than politics.
Sure,
absolutely, David's got a question for you.
I'm not a professional at this. I'm just, I'm just trying to make sense of the world. Isn't this sort of like...
Then why the fuck is he here? Like, why the fuck is he on this program? Like, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Matt Dillahunty is like a quote-unquote professional atheist. He's been doing this a long time. Ironically enough, though, he hasn't been doing it as long as I have. There was a time when Matt Dillahunty was a Christian, and he was studying to become a priest. But he knows the Bible pretty well. That's actually what his area of expertise, ironically enough, is. It's in the Bible. David Pakman, I have no idea why the fuck this guy is here talking about atheist shit. This is going to be interesting, though.
Saying Spider-Man's real because the Spider-Man comic says so. Nobody would accept that argument, right? I mean, is that not ultimately sort of what we're talking about here? You would need something from outside the Spider-Man book to tell us Spider-Man is or isn't real?
Great question. This is the thing about that. Like, that argument is kind of elementary to me.
Really?
The thing is everything, because you got to look at, the thing is the scientific method is the scientific method, but when we're dealing with history, and how to prove history is not
Yep.
a scientific method.
So yeah, that goes to my point. Like, I do actually think that when it comes to history, you do need to rely on books written by historians. I mean, and that's where the trouble comes, because the saying is that history is written by the victors of war, something like that, words to that effect. And that becomes problematic, because then they can dictate what history is, even if they lie. So, yeah, history can become muddled, and we could even believe in false history, because who's writing the history books? So that's a big, big problem that we have with studying history. But it's a consequence of working with incomplete data.
Correct.
If you look at the Bible, okay, of course the Bible is not how it was started. It had other resources that we use to actually develop it, just like the scientific method does to build upon the scientific method. You can't say that you can use the scientific method and use those information in those books, but the Bible believers can't. Like that, it's putting the cart before the horse. Our belief is based on the Bible first. Once we find out that it's something in the Bible that needs to be looked at, then we can go outside the source. You can't say that, okay,
Hey,
well,
Wig.
I can see something on the outside source
Hey,
and then
Wig.
come into the Bible. Go ahead.
Wig, if you start with the Bible, aren't you setting up a position where you believe something and now you're expecting somebody to prove that it's false?
You said I'm setting it up for them to prove that it's false?
You're saying you begin with the Bible first, right?
Okay,
Is that what you said?
I did.
Okay. And so you believe the claims in the Bible right off the bat, right?
That's not the argument. The argument is
Okay.
not about belief. You're moving the goalposts. I'm not talking about my
Okay.
belief. I'm talking about
Wig,
actually
I swear I'm
proving your
Matt Dillahunty is such a sensitive motherfucker. Just let the dude talk.
point.
completely unimpressed with you using moving the goalpost and all this other stuff. I didn't move a goalpost. I asked a question because you
He is the most sensitive motherfucker on the planet, and he's so unbelievably rude. This is the way he is. Like, and this tactic actually works pretty well as long as the caller's an idiot and acting in bad faith. But I'm not actually convinced that that's the case with this caller.
sat here and said we begin with the Bible and then we go outside of it to find stuff. I'm trying to get down to specifics. Name a claim the Bible makes.
Right?
Give me a claim that the Bible makes that you believe just because the Bible says so.
There is no claim that
Thank you.
I said it because of the Bible said
Thank you.
so. No.
Thank you.
But that's
So
the thing.
then the
Belief is
Bible, Wig, what you're saying is the claim of the Bible is insufficient on its own to confirm that it is believable and true, right?
No, that's not what I said. That's not what
I know
said.
I know those aren't the words you said. I'm pointing out the natural understanding of what you said, because if there's a claim in the Bible, you either believe it automatically or you find external confirmation for it. Those are the only two options to believe, right?
Okay, great. Okay, let me answer your question then. Miracles.
Hang on. My question here is yes or no. I'm building to something. So those are the only two options. There's a claim in the Bible. You either believe it automatically or you seek some sort of confirmation for it and then believe it, right?
Which is how it is with everything that we teach kids, including stuff about Jews, for example, like the Holocaust, the history of Jews being perpetually victims and oppressed, even when they are responsible for atrocities themselves. You see? Like, that's kind of what I want to disabuse people of, is that, and this is what Matt Dillahunty is guilty of as well, is that he also believes in a lot of things without any ancillary evidence to support it, namely the perpetual victimization of Jews, even though on some level he actually does understand that Jews were responsible for atrocities. Because I remember in that last video I made, I played a video of him talking about how the Bible was actually written by raping and pillaging Jews. But yet he's too stupid to really understand what he actually believes.
That could be the method. I see where you're getting at. Okay, but yeah,
It's not a method. This is a really, see, Wig, this is a really simple yes or no. Those are the only two options if you're going to believe it. You either believe it without additional information, or you believe it with additional information, or you just don't believe it. Those are the three options, right?
Do you believe all the victimhood, crying, wah stuff about Jews without additional information, or is just the word of Jews good enough for you?
Right?
yeah. But then if you
Oh,
believe it
there's no
without
but. There's no
information,
but.
then it's blind.
Wig. As I explained, I'm leading to something. Let me get there. Let me get there.
I know what you're doing. I know
Yes,
what you're
do I have
doing.
to
I've
mute
been
you?
dealing with atheism
do I
for
have
a
to
long
mute-
time. You're
okay,
trying
Wig,
to box me.
Yes, I'm trying
Go
to
ahead.
actually debate. Oh, thank you for the go ahead. Here, I'm going to put you on mute, and I'll take you off mute when I'm done talking this time. If you say that there's a claim in the Bible, and there are three options, you either believe it without additional information, or you believe it with additional information, or you do not believe it. If those are the three options, and you already said that you would not believe it without additional information, then you have already admitted that the Bible's claim on its own is insufficient to warrant belief, and therefore the Bible's claim needs external support.
And by the way, like all this stuff from the Old Testament, that's all Jewish scripture. That's Hebrew scripture. That's Torah stuff. Just saying. But they never want to talk about that. How everything from the Old Testament is actually Jewish beliefs.
Tell me what I've said that isn't true.
Great. I'm glad you broke that down. Now,
Thank you.
let me backtrack. You asked the question
I want you to
about,
tell me what I said that wasn't true.
What's not true is you can believe. I'm telling you, I'm retracting that. You can believe something without the evidence. The one thing that
I'm going to mute you again for a second here, Wig, because I want to make sure we're clear.
Why don't you just let him finish a thought, Dillahunty? You fucking asshole.
I'm going to unmute you. What you're saying is you are now retracting your former statement, and you're saying that one can and should.
Yeah, he already made that clear, you idiot.
Believe just based on what the Bible says, correct? Is that correct? I guess Wig doesn't want to talk anymore.
Yeah,
no,
maybe
that's part of your statement on the end, not the correct part.
You previously said that you wouldn't believe things from the Bible without external. And when I pointed out the flaw in that thinking, you then you are now retracting that and saying that you would believe things without external confirmation, correct?
Just like Matt Dillahunty. I mean, we all do that. Like when we're kids, we're taught certain things and it just sticks with us. What he's actually describing is something called an anchoring effect, sometimes called an anchoring fallacy. When you're taught to believe something without any external or ancillary evidence, you're very likely to just believe it at face value. Because why wouldn't you? You're being taught it from an authoritative figure, and you have no good compelling reason to challenge it, which is the same problem that Pakman has and every single other Zionist Jew has, in that they believe all the lies of Zionism because that's what was spoon-fed to them as kids. And they will dig their heels in and continue to believe that bullshit and defend it even when other people provide evidence that contradicts it. Everyone's guilty of it, including Dillahunty, and especially Pakman, the Jewish supremacist.
Correct. The miracles. Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to let David jump in here. David, Wig says that he would believe things in the...
I like how Matt Dillahunty has to rope him in because fucking Pakman has jack shit to say about any of this stuff. Why is he here? Is he even an atheist? I mean, like I said, I did suspect that he was irreligious, which is actually an interesting twist because Michael Brooks, who was palling around with David Pakman early on, he actually is religious. He does believe in all the shit in Judaism. Maybe not every little thing, but he's religious. He is a theist. He believes in Yahweh. Uh, but yeah, let's hear what Pakman has to say about this. I don't think he has anything intelligent to add to any of this.
The Bible without external confirmation, if they're miracles. Have you got thoughts on that?
Well, I guess what I would want to know then is how did he categorize the Bible as the one that he can believe without external confirmation? And would he apply that same standard to the Quran and the Book of Mormon and Harry Potter or Dianetics from L. Ron Hubbard? Like somehow I'm wondering whether
Is Pakman willing to apply that standard to the Zionist teachings that he was brought up to believe? Is he willing to look external to that Zionist bubble that he was brought up in? I don't think so. Evidently, nothing's changed. This was only posted 2 months ago. This was only posted 2 months ago, and then we find out this motherfucker's been taking dark money. So I'm not sure how long this fucker was taking dark money for, but there's a good chance he was taking dark money when he filmed this episode.
he also would believe those without external confirmation, or whether something about just the Bible has put it in this category for him.
Great question. Well, the thing is this: when it comes to the other sources, everything is, you can say, subjective. But when it comes to history, you can't be subjective with it. Historically, the Bible is true. You can't go around that.
How do you know that the Bible is historically true? Was the Garden of Eden real? Was the flood real?
Well, was marsupial real?
I'm sorry, those questions are irrelevant. Those questions are an irrelevant dodge.
Come on,
Wig. Those questions are an irrelevant dodge to what I asked you. I asked you if the Garden of Eden was real and if the flood was true. And you refuse to answer that. Do you have an answer?
Both of them are real. Both of them are real,
know?
Yes.
How do you know?
How do I know?
Yes.
I believe those.
Yeah, I don't care what you believe. I asked how you know that they're real. I know you believe them. I used to believe them too. I believed them when I was studying to be a preacher. And then I learned that they're not real and that nobody has a good reason to believe they're real. But you're telling me that they're real. And I'm asking you, how do you know? And you are dodging and twisting and turning like crazy.
Well, there's all kind of historical writings of all type of civilizations that even actually wrote about the flood account. It's not just the Bible that came with the flood account. So you got to come
that's
on,
a
man.
lie. Wig, that's a lie. There are no written historical record. There are no written historical records confirming a global flood, and it's not scientifically possible. The Epic of Gilgamesh is not a global flood, and it is not stated as something that actually is true. The global flood cannot occur
as a flood. There's a lot of
I've lived through
there's a lot of mythology in everything.
Wig, we're stopping right here, Wig, because I have other guests waiting to call in, and you're now asserting that things are true and a matter of historical record when they are absolutely not and cannot be, as the flood purported of Nova.
I keep thinking about, like, I'm not saying Matt Dillahunty is wrong about the flood and Garden of Eden and stuff like that. I don't believe in that stuff either. And the most compelling argument against those things is that the worldwide flood, it's impossible. That actually is a very compelling argument against that. Garden of Eden, we have evolution, okay? But the thing is, the thing that I keep thinking about is how hypocritical these two douchebags really are, because they accept a lot of the bullshit that's spouted by Jewish supremacists, what we were all brainwashed to think about Jews, and collectivizing them as innocent as victims perpetually, and all these apocryphal stories of hate crimes being committed against Jews, when you can there's actually a really good way to determine that this is bullshit. In order to commit a hate crime against a Jew, you first have to know that they actually are a Jew. Now, this is definitely possible when a Jew expresses as a Jew. Behavior is what betrays a person's Jewish identity. So, dressing a certain way, wearing yarmulkes on your head or some other headgear, Jews wear all different kinds of things. Different particular Jewish clothing, living in a Jewish neighborhood, going to synagogue, going to temple. These are ways that you can identify people as Jews. However, there are lots of other Jews who don't do any of that stuff. Like, for example, the guy on the right. The guy on the right's not wearing a yarmulke. He's not wearing those Jewish clothes I see Jews wear all the time. He's not wearing that bear fur hat or whatever the fuck that thing is. He's not. He's not. I'm pretty sure he doesn't go to temple or synagogue or wherever the fuck that thing is. He's on this atheist show, so I don't think he's doing that. Um, yeah. So how do we know that Pakman's a Jew? Well, his Wikipedia article says so, and also his behavior. The fact that he's a hardcore Zionist, that he has an emotional, nationalistic attitude towards Israel, and he defends it. And also the stuff that he doesn't say. The silence is deafening when he doesn't talk about the genocide in Gaza. He refuses to broach that subject because he secretly supports it. All these things are what betrays him as a Jew. But if you were to see him out on the street and you didn't know who the fuck he was, you would not know that he was a Jew. And the point I'm making is, in order to commit a hate crime against a Jew, you first have to know that they are a Jew. And these David Pakman type Jews are not conspicuously Jewish unless you have prior knowledge that they are Jewish, which is why these claims of perpetual oppression and victimization are total bullshit, at least in regards to people like David Pakman who do not express as a Jew in a conspicuous way. It only manifests as part of their Jewish identity politics and attitudes, emotional attitudes towards Israel. So, and that's not conspicuous. That's not conspicuous to at least a stranger on the street, which is how most hate crimes are committed against strangers, generally speaking. If you're targeting someone, someone that you already know. There's usually some other bias against that person. Uh, random. We usually associate hate crimes as random attacks that are motivated purely by hatred of that identity, racial or religious. So yeah, I'm calling bullshit on how Jews are brainwashing us to infantilize them. Okay, and Matt Dillahunty's just as guilty of that.
Yeah, we already know at the time that it would have happened, the Egyptians didn't seem to notice it, which is why there are Christians and Jews who don't think it was a global flood, but think it was a local flood that's been misunderstood. You are running around claiming that there are historical accounts of things, and that is simply not true. But even if there was a historical record of a flood, a global flood, that would not prove that the flood happened, and it would not prove that any of the other claims of the Bible was true. Because if I say, David's the smartest guy I know, Wig is the smartest guy I know, one of those two things is definitely not true. They both might be false, but one of those things is definitely not true because they're in conflict. I'll give you the last word, Wig, but if you're just going to say that I can guarantee you have zero expertise in history and zero knowledge of what is a matter of historical record, but I'm not knocking you for that. You are like every other theist that calls in to defend this. You have been grossly misinformed about the facts. But what would you like to say to wrap it up?
Well, number one, thank you. I do appreciate you for taking my call. Number two, yeah, I'll call in. We'll talk again, Matt. I'll concede it. Go ahead. Thank you.
Catch you later, Wig. And
I don't know how you do this, Matt. I don't know how you do this.
Oh, that's incredible. That was a nothing. That was a simple little thing. Wait until there will be other callers. And as a joke,
Has he never watched this program before? Did he just kind of show up and just start doing this stuff with Matt Dillahunty, like for shits and giggles? Like at least be a little prepared. Like apparently, like he doesn't. I don't even know how they met and why they're even doing this together. This is just weird to me.
somebody's going to take this. I don't care. I've been told that I need to be kinder. And so instead of telling people to fuck off, I should say, how can I best help you to fuck off? And so I had a lot of fun with that joke. All right.
Hey, if you liked this video.
Okay. Now let me tell you a little bit about derpy Matt Dillahunty over here. This thing called The Line, like this is something new. He used to be part of this other show called The Atheist Experience, which he actually was a caller. He called in and then he just kind of glommed onto the show. And since he was such an asshole to the callers, he became popular because the callers were idiots. So the videos where he was kind of owning, schooling the theist callers, who were morons, by the way, they were not smart people at all, they became popular because these were easy slam dunks. Unfortunately, Matt Dillahunty's abrasive, sandpapery personality, um, while it works for slamming on theists that aren't too bright, it doesn't translate very well for anyone else. So he was such a deplorable asshole to everyone. It wasn't just these callers, it was to everyone. And everyone hated him. Every single friend this motherfucker had, he lost. He lost all of his friends. He used to be friends with the old guard, which is Tracy Harris, uh, Jeff D, people like that from back in the day. Jen Peoples, she was another one. They all hate him. They all hate him now because he's just such a miserable pile of shit. They all left the show, and the new guys who came in, they hated Matt Dillahunty too because it turns out Matt Dillahunty is actually a money grubbing piece of shit. Like he has no talents outside of atheism. Like just doing atheist stuff over and over again. That's his only shtick. He has no talents beyond that. Like these other people I described, they have talents. Like Jen People, she's an engineer. Um, Jeff D, he's a game designer. Like, and then there's like these other people who are artists. Like they they actually had talent outside of this stupid show. So when they left, they could go back to doing their old job. Whereas Matt Dillahunty has no talent doing anything else. And that's why he had to keep on doing this. But the atheist experience guys hated him because of how much of an asshole he was. And they wanted to fire him, but they couldn't because it would make them look bad. So they just made things inhospitable for him. And then Matt Dillahunty, being the douchebag fuck that he is, he realized at some point, I guess, that everyone there hated him, and so he quit on his own. And they shut the door and told him to fuck off. And I guess they got rid of his email and shit like that, which he was like mad about and was whining and bitching about it. Yeah, Matt Dillahunty. I'll say one positive thing about Matt Dillahunty. He is, for the most part, a rational person, but that's also the problem is that very rational people tend to be assholes. As for Pakman, I have no idea why he's here or how they got together or any of this shit. I'm just baffled. He had nothing to contribute to this. Talk about trying to talk outside of your area of expertise. This guy has no clue what the fuck he's talking about. All the things that he said are just things that Matt Dillahunty and other atheists, by the way, just other atheists have already said a million times, like the Spider-Man analogy. Like I've heard that a gajillion times. That was made on the Atheist Experience before too. So You unoriginal piece of shit. You're a Jewish supremacist. You take dark money. You glom onto assholes like Matt Dillahunty, who turns out to be a complete fraud. Um, he was a complete fraud when he was virtue signaling about Palestine. Dude, you can't talk to us about how much you care about Palestine and how opposed you are to the genocide when you are working and making money with the Jewish supremacist. You're a phony. You're a phony. No one, no legitimate pro-Palestinian person would ever work with a Zionist. Okay, they are the enemy. But that's who you really are. Like, I mean, he said in that other video that he's like family in Israel or some shit. I have no idea. Like, what? My question to you, like, if that's true, if you have friends or family in Israel, what the fuck are they still doing there? What the fuck are they still doing there? Why haven't they left? Don't tell me that they are uh, anti-Zionist or pro-Palestinian, which I don't believe he did say those things. I think he just said that they claim that there's a genocide going on in Gaza. Great. That doesn't mean that they're good people. Okay, fuck off. Anyway, that's all I gotta say for now. Like Twilight Zone shit here with David Pakman with that hideous looking grin on his face. See you guys later.